Hello, everybody. This is Eric Erdman, and you are listening to Dealing the Mobile Sound. We are here in the green room of Callahan's in Mobile, Alabama.
Ooh, the illustrious.
And we are we're going to talk about the Mobile area music scene. It's you know, it's not our team versus the other teams type of deal. I just think we have something special here, and I think we should showcase it. And Lynn Oldshoe approached me about having a podcast, and I said I'm all in. And then we decided we wanted to do it at Callahan's because Callahan's is such a staple here in the music community.
Yeah, it's kind of like the hub of it all.
Right. And as we sat around the table here in the green room, we realized it wasn't just a table. It was just this funky, dirty, gritty poker table. And then I started thinking, well, it might be more a part of the Mobile music scene than any myself or any of our guests.
Yeah, we don't really want to know what all these stains are.
That's right. So around the poker table today, we have helping us deal the Mobile sound, the one and only Mr. Grayson Capps.
Hi. Thanks.
Hey,
You're my friend, too.
Yeah, thank you for coming, man. But since we're sitting around the poker table, we decided to make a game of the interview. So, for example, to start it out, we're going to ask you to ante up, which means, tell us about the time that you first bet on yourself in music.
Well, I kind of came about music different than most people. It's been an outlet for me forever. I studied theater at Tulane, and I got this thing called a BFA, which means bad fucking attitude. That kind of got me off and running, and almost went for the MFA, and you can figure out what that was for. And then I ended up having a band early on, and got signed to Tipitina's record label, and it was all just kind of like making fun of musicians, because violent films were a big deal at the time.
Yep.
The Chickasaw Mud Puppies, what's his name, the guy that eats yellow food. There's Dash Rip Rock. There was Mojo Nixon, Skid Roper. Mojo Nixon, he's the one who only
right.
ate yellow food.
Interesting. I did not know that fact.
Oh, yeah. Cheese curls,
Okay.
cheese.
It's a very short list. No, bananas.
Squash.
Squash.
Yeah. But
Okay.
mostly it was Doritos, I think.
Okay.
Kind of yellowish, Anyway, there's a band called like the Dick Nixons was around out of Donaldsonville. This is when I lived in New Orleans, and it was like theater, and we could take a stage anywhere, and it became just performance, and I had the freedom of having a job that a friend of mine let me work whenever I wanted to doing landscaping. And so I would have money, and by Friday and Saturday, whatever show I had was my time to do exactly what I wanted to do and say exactly what I feel and say. So I wasn't out there trying to appeal to anybody. I was mostly doing psychotherapy 101. I mean, I had a lot of testosterone, a lot of wanting to scream, big punk rock ethic of just wanting to, And so my approach was do exactly what I want to do. And it wasn't like I want to achieve this thing. It's like stuff, I think now I've achieved exactly what I wanted, which is having people call me to go play without me having to have a booking agent. I mean, right these days, I pretty much go where people ask me, and I'm having a good time, and I'm free.
That's so cool. Like so many people that are, bashing their head against the rock trying to make it happen.
Yeah, but it came because I was doing what I wanted to do.
Right. It's like that's
I wasn't really looking for it. And over time, it's planed out where I don't have a bus. And if I compare, play the comparison game, I'm probably a failure.
That's always a losing game, I think.
Yeah.
That's not what it's about.
But if I play like the reality game, or not game, just reality is like, I'm really happy where I am, and it's, but not done, it's like I still have issues, and
you can be happy without being complacent, or
right. That's where I go through I think the saddest I ever become is when I feel like apathy or complacency has settled in, come in, you know.
Right.
Like if I got a gig and everybody's loving what I'm doing, want to sing along to these songs, I feel like, failing because, you know, Bob Dylan, you know, was one of my heroes. But if you notice him, when people are singing along to your song, they're not listening anymore, you know. And there's so many things right now are so outrageous that you got to compete. And I'm happy for people to be rock stars and stuff like that, but I'm more happy when there's actually substance and help for giving hope and, you know, spreading empathy and love and compassion. You know,
right.
I think it takes a lot to do that, especially these days.
Yeah, obviously, and it's needed as much as ever, you know, right now. And
so yeah, I didn't really bet on myself.
I get it though. That's
but
perfect.
I'm old
what
now,
you said.
and
Let me ask you something. I might be off base with this, but the first time I think I ever came across your path was when I was at the University of South Alabama. Was it Stave and Chain? Was that the band? What
could have been. I had a band called the House Levelers, which was a three-piece band, and then Stave and Chain was more blues-based, and then so it would have been like a four-piece.
Yeah, I think that's what.
That's probably Stave and Chain.
Okay, cool. That would pop into my head, and I was like, I've known Grayson for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, I got my first record deal when I was 21, and so.
Upwards of 3 years ago.
1991.
Oh, okay.
You know, something like that. Yeah.
So yeah, that would have been in the mid to late 90s or something. Maybe.
Yeah. So I ended up starting Stave and Chain in about 97, I believe.
That would have probably been exactly it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's cool, and you've had multiple groups. You know, you've had
and
Lost
crazy
Cause,
ups and downs. You know, it's like there's times where I've played with. I mean, I got a great resume.
Yeah, well, I mean, to your point, you hit on it in passing, but the like you said, once something starts becoming just a habit, or it loses the electricity, I guess, due to complacency, then you move on and do something else. Not saying like just leave the deal, but I understand it makes sense that you would have had 4 or 5 bands over the times because you did that with full energy and testosterone and whatever you had, and then it's like, now let me look for a.
Well, it also becomes, after you've had a couple of bands and the ego involved in the bands, and all the work involved. You know, early on I thought, oh man, I can just quit the House Levelers and pick up where I'd left off, and I didn't realize how popular it was.
Yeah,
I had to rebuild the whole thing with Stave and Chain. You know, got over to Europe, got signed to Roof Records, and toured Europe a good bit. And it was a whole different thing. And then I was like, my partner that I was with at the time, I just didn't feel like was pulling his weight, and I was constantly angry. And I was like, man, I've got to stop this and just put all the energy into something that will last, which is my name, you know. And so
makes sense, yeah.
At that point, I've
for better or worse.
Right? Well, for definitely better or worse, because you take all the glory and all the blame. And when there's a shitty gig, you make no money. You're paying your musicians. You know, you take care of your musicians. That's how you keep musicians. And I think, I did learn a little protocol from like people like Walter Wolfman Washington. You know, it's like I was like, man, how do you keep your band? He's like, I pay them same as me. Equally, and
it makes them feel respected. I mean, even if it's not a lot of money, you're not getting taken advantage of, so they stick around.
Yeah, and you can surround yourself with really good musicians as long as you're straight up with them and not trying to.
So there you go. All you singer-songwriter and musicians out there looking to start a band.
That's right.
Take care of the folks around you.
Oh, yeah. Some other Dawsonism. My friend Dawson, who was my mentor, kind of. He was Zigaboo Modalisa's brother, hell of a guitar player, but he says you're only as good as your worst player.
Oh, interesting.
So always surround yourself with players better than you.
That's good. That's a good philosophy. Well, look, you were talking about ego for a minute ago, and
Boy, that's a good one.
Well, I love the mobile music scene for a bunch of reasons, but one of the biggest ones I think is special is the fact that it feels like everybody is cheering on everybody else. It's not a competition. It's not me versus you. I mean, I'm sure there's a person here or there that has that, but as a whole, it feels truly like a community where people lift each other up and show up at each other's album release parties, play on each other's albums, and stuff like that. And I don't know if there's ever been a bigger show of that selflessness than you having the whole community of the Frog Pond, and instead of like many people would have just kept that to be like, I have this cool gig now, but you opened and welcomed tons of people in and made the entire area better and all the musicians in it better. And it was like, obviously, to me, an egoless thing to do, because you could have just made it about yourself, and instead it was like about everybody but yourself.
Well, thanks for seeing it that way. Is another thing that was it was selfish for, I mean, it's like for
Don't
me.
ruin it for me, Grayson.
No, I'll get back to it. But you know, there's Kathy Steele's huge part. We were building our house coming back to Alabama, and I lived out there at the Frog Pond for 9 months, and Kathy was just finishing, you know, her time booking bands at Pirates Cove, and it was kind of had no direction and sad because she loved working with musicians. And I had just gotten back from Woodstock and having gone to Levon Helm's Midnight Ramble. And I was thinking what a brilliant musician that was, that he just stays home and asks people to come drive to him instead of
you
the
save
hours.
so much on gas.
That's right. I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice if I could just have something regular to end up home? And I talked to Kathy. I was like, I would, you know, you've got the space, and I would love to end up home on Sundays, and you know, I could. You know, she said, well, would you host it? And I was like, well, that's, you know, got Corky, you know, as a
phenomenal.
Corky Hughes, wonderful Mobile musician.
I was hoping at some point we could get him on here, because he's as big a part of
he's a legend,
the Mobile music scene as anybody.
And then it started happening and became this more fluid kind of round where it was like, and that's where I think the giving thing comes in. It's like, you know, me and Corky host it, but the main thing I like to do is start the show, but play and encourage people to play with me, and to set it up where whoever's there feels comfortable.
Well, you mean
to let go.
You've
you know?
Definitely done that. I'm not just saying that.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's not a normal round. It's a very comfortable.
Not
round.
normal at all. It's the best house concert. It's not. I don't even consider it a house concert venue. It's too
It's
special and
a huge
different.
collaboration, and it's a looseness and trust.
The welcoming of other artists onto what literally could have been and is your stage is one thing, but then also, like you said, during their performance,
Well, and
you're
you
also
want the people
welcoming.
to show up who show up to be highlighted and be like present, you know, framed as the best they can be too. You know, they're going to play, like if you play there, you're playing your song, and you know, don't know what the progression is, and you know, don't know anything about the song. I am going to lay out. Corky's more in music theory, to where he might suss out the progression, but when there's 4 guitar players, you know, Corky's the better guitar player actually than anybody, but he picks up bass. That's how good of a guitar player he is.
Right.
He decides that we don't need any more guitar. Let's just make the song better, you know, and that's what
that's what it feels
all
like.
about.
It feels like
It's
that
whatever-
whole experience is just about the song.
about the song, just about that performance and the fragile nature
It's a respect
of a song.
of the song, right? That's what
Huge
it feels
respect,
like.
yeah.
And so another element of the mobile music scene is that you hit on is this the freedom. It's a little feral. It's a little wild, but it's also the willingness to jam. And I know I'm not saying that like we have some patent on improvisation at all, but it is a part of what we do here, where it's like, here's the plan, but then also, well, I know I've never played with you, but you have your accordion. like, let's go. Well, since we're sitting in Callahan's, you also, are a big part of having music here and started the Epic now, the Joe Kane Day deal. How did that come about?
After Katrina, I was playing with John Milham, and he knew JT, and we were homeless, after Katrina, and I was living in Fairhope, had brought the whole band here, and we asked JT if we could play every Sunday and call it Hangover Sunday, because a lot of things we're playing, like Pirates Cove the night before, where it's just completely lawless out there. And then, 300-400 people would be like out here, granted there was no cover or anything, but it was just something completely new. And it was just a lot of energy coming from us, from being, kind of angst-ridden and full of energy. And then there was Ray Ard, who was a big part of it, because you need an audience member who's going to kick everybody in the ass. And Ray would be up on the tables going, "Come on, youngin', dance, youngin', what are you going to do?" And he was out there, one of the first shows. I was like, who's this guy? He's fucking insane. He's like, he was out there with a tube, with a piece of plywood, and he's a woodworker. And this is where it didn't make any sense, because he's out there with hammer and nail trying to nail the plywood into the street, because the stage is out there, and he needed a dance floor.
He was trying to nail wood into the street.
Oh yeah, he did. He nailed it right in there and danced on it. And then if we were inside, he'd be dancing on the tables or whatever. And that, combined with the Stump Knockers, my band at the time, we were completely kind of talking about feral. It was very feral,
right?
But it was so much fun, and I think it all brought it in together to be this experience. And then, JT was like, man, I don't think he expected this place to be a music place, because it's not. If you walk into it, you're like, this is not a music venue.
It's one of my favorite places to bring out of town folks. One, because they have the best hamburger in the world.
Oh, yeah,
but also it's like they don't expect. Like you're right. It's very unassuming, like a little bitty place, and then you're like, all the people that have played here, and they're like, they played here and they played here. Like, where did they set up? Like right there where that table is.
That's what makes it so much fun. It's very intimate, Mm-hmm. But I've kind of think about. I guess it's the story of my life. I've been a good starter, not a good finisher.
Oh, yeah.
But I've started a lot of things.
Well, many of them are ongoing, and we're glad to have them. So don't beat yourself up too bad. All right. Well, look, we got to get to the next part of the metaphorical poker game. So now we're at the flop. So on the flop, I'm just going to ask you to think about, is there a song that sticks out in particular where you wrote it, it meant a lot to you, and it can still mean a lot to you. It might be your favorite song. It doesn't really impact the value of the song itself, but you wrote the song, you couldn't wait to get it out in front of an audience, and then you get on stage and play it, and it's, crickets, or at least it didn't translate the way you had hoped.
Well, there's not one in particular. I just don't do them,
Right.
Well, to me, performing live, I like to have written a song and perform it live before I record it, because to me, the biggest bullshit meter in the entire world is the live audience.
Oh, 100%.
Like, you can feel everything about your song. Oddly enough, or not oddly, just truthfully enough, with the crowd base that follows me, they expect me to be truthful, and so the stuff that means the most to me seems to carry a lot of weight and be felt by people. Right place, right time. Like I can't play some kind of sensitive song at Joe Kane Day.
Right.
Not the time to do it.
Know what to play when.
But when you've kind of explored all kinds of emotions and excitements and different textures, there is a time to bring it to those magical moments where you can just, go into a very personal space and let everybody in. And when those hit, it's sometimes the most powerful moments for everybody, the performer and the audience.
Right.
Because to me, the perfect, the reason I do this is that for the times when that magic happens, where there's no you or me, there's a we,
Yes.
and to me, it's like what has drawn me to music is that magical relationship. And I always think if it's like people look for it in like a higher being, they say they have their religion, based on this higher being. But I think in my experience in this life, the closest thing to a higher being that I've ever experienced is the unspoken relationship. Like you can't have a higher being. The higher being is the untouchable space in between. That's the higher being, the relationship, not
right. It's
the
not a
one
being.
thing. You can't touch it. You can't hold it. And that's why I think I've been drawn to music too, because it replicates that truth of our lives, that time and space are fleeting.
Well, I was talking with Molly. I think maybe not in certain types of song, but a lot of times I feel like as the artist, you are hopefully saying a song that doesn't flop. You're saying a thing from your personal experience, also from the audience's personal experience, but they have been unable to articulate it exactly like they wanted to. So what that does is exactly what you said. You are becoming their mouthpiece, which is a joining in some sense. Like they're going, that's exactly how I feel.
Well,
Thank you for saying
that's
it for
the
me.
role of the poet, is to express in words or music or whatever, express what everybody's feeling, but they can't express themselves. And that's where like this magic thing happens, you know.
You've been talking about your theater background a lot, but there's clearly a literary background too, and you can hear it in your lyrics. And just I've heard you also in other interviews and talk about your father and different in literature. I want to ask your album Heartbreak, Misery, and Death. You covered a bunch of really interesting classic songs, and I was just wondering if you chose those more because of just how they fit in your musical upbringing, or because of how they were a piece of literature. You know what I mean? Because a lot of those songs are traditional, and then some are more modern, right?
Right, but it was mostly for my father to kind of give a kind of like a through line, because these are songs that I grew up with and I've been playing my whole life.
Oh, cool.
So like all of them I've been playing longer than probably any song I've ever written. Stony, Jerry Jeff Walker song being the first song I ever learned.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. That's cool.
And I learned it for Bobby Long, because he was like, man, that's the song about me,
Right.
And obviously as years went by, I was like, well, he needs his own song, because I've been playing this damn song that just called Stony, and it's not called Bobby Long. Those are what formed me. So those songs are not just like happenstance. They're all songs that really formed my songwriting.
And it makes perfect sense, because no one does authenticity better than you, but you have also an interesting way of making a song that feels new, like it's a fresh thing I've never heard, but somehow it just feels like it has been around for 150 years. That's hard to do. It's like,
well, somebody asked me who my favorite songwriter was, and I think I was in Germany, and I said, oh, it's fellow named Mr. Traditional. And the guy came back like 2 years later. He's like, man, it took me 2 years to figure out what you were saying.
That's great.
No.
Well, let's move on to the next part of the poker hand. Let's go to the turn. Do you remember the time around when you made the turn from music just kind of being a thing that was really fun to something that was more professional?
Yeah, it was called A Love Song for Bobby Long, that movie.
Yeah.
And I was at a point where I was running a landscaping crew, and I was also had regular shows in New Orleans, and I was traveling. I had the stave and chain, and I mean, the record label we're on, we got like full page ads in the Village Voice, selling out like, Manny's Car Wash or something like that. Just, touring Europe, and, that was going good. And then my landscaping thing was going good. Then I had a girlfriend, we had a baby, and then I got more serious about, all right, what am I doing? And so
That'll do it.
I was thinking, all right, I've got this gig landscaping. This is pretty cool. And then I was landscaping, and then this movie came along that is inspired by my father's book, and the director wanted to use me and all the songs. It all tied together to tell this story. And so I didn't know what impact that would do. All I knew that I'd just broken up with my daughter's mother. Life was very not like I expected it to be at all. I mean, total devastation. And then I'm supposed to be teaching John Travolta these songs that are on heartbreak, misery, and death, songs I grew up with, And how many arms have hailed you? And I had to teach him hailed. How you got to hail.
Hey, there's an A in there.
Hailed,
Hailed.
Yeah, and so I've been running a jackhammer all day, and I'm still dirty because with movies, when I started working with it, I got disillusioned quickly because I'm like, where's the money? You got me here with John Travolta, teaching them these songs. I'm broke, having to work all day long and then show up at this thing, and there's no money. When do I get paid? And there's no real answer. It's like, 6 months to a year,
Oh, my God.
And meanwhile, John Travolta's like, you're not really starstruck. He's kind of strange, because mostly, when I work with people like this, it's a slightly awkward thing. I was like, have you ever run a jackhammer? And he said no, and I was like, well, you ought to, being an actor, it's like I've been doing it all day, and my daughter, when I would have her, would be hanging out with his daughter because they're the same age. I think her name was Ella, and the reality of like she has no idea who John Travolta is. My daughter, he's trying to give her a piece of cake, and she's crying because she'd rather like hang out in my lap, and all this stuff happened. But literally, it was the day. I think something snapped when I snapped at him about the
Jackhammer.
Jackhammer, thank you. Because that day I started feeling like my knuckles were coming apart, and I was thinking, man, I can't grow old doing this,
Yeah.
And so there was the crossroads that happened right there. It was an opportunity to get my music into a whole different realm, and I got my self-published album. We got a record deal with a record company, once again pushed out into the world. The movie comes out, I'm on tour, and then that was when I was like, I'm not going back. I'm done.
No more jackhammers.
No more jackhammers. And so since that moment on, I've been making a living solely at music.
Well, why don't we play a track? You want what song you want us to spin?
Well, I just sent a version of the single. It's called My Body, and it's got Corky Hughes playing guitar, and I got Simone French doing
excellent.
some background. Ryan Avenger produced it at Dolphin Street.
So here you go, dealing the sound of Mobile. You're listening to Grayson Capps, My Body.
Yep.
Well, my body is my body. It's not yours, it's all mine. I was not born to be objectified by my brother who's abjectly blind. Well, my brother swears on his Bible, then my brother swears at me. Says if I don't swear on his Bible, I'll burn in hell for eternity. I know a war is raging. I feel it deep down in my bones, and I'm quite prepared for the battle, 'cause I know I'm not alone. I'm a vessel through which life travels. I've no time for this dogma and fear. Now that makes my brother's world unravel. Oh, I hope I pissed him off, but dear, my brother says, life, it ain't no choice, girl. I say, brother, that's where you're wrong, 'cause you chose to be an asshole all on your own. And I know a war is raging. It's been raging far too long, and I'm quite prepared for the battle, 'cause I know I'm not alone. Traveled this long, lonesome journey, cross state lines, back roads and woods. I refuse to let my brother hurt me, 'cause I'm here to do some good. Do some good for my neighbors, do some good for my friends, do some good for the whole world around me. Good to the very end. That's right. Traveling around Ocala, Florida. Late at night I saw a sign. I'll tell you what it said. It's confusing. It said, God, guns, guts, and glory are what made this country great. I'm shouting, God, guns, guts, and glory are the very words that make men hate. And I know a war is raging. It's been raging far too long, and I'm quite prepared for the battle, 'cause I know I'm not alone. And I know a war is raging. I feel it deep down in my bones, and I'm quite prepared for the battle, 'cause I know I'm not alone. Shout!
Man, that is heavy and feels important to talk about a topic like that.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like it's my own truth, and I'm getting to the point where complacency is not an option these days, and there's a lot to be touched on that I don't think people are ready for, but if they want to have the freedom that they claim this country brings, then I think everybody's got to be ready for a deeper conversation. The whole time I'm alive, I'm searching, and there have been points where I've made discoveries, and I think those are songs or ideas that jive with other people, where I honestly achieve some growth through my song. Music that I love is intangible. You know, you can't define it, and also the ideas that I have about this life are not marketable. I mean, they're just not. You know, it's like the most beautiful things in this life are not marketable.
Well, that's what I was about to say. There's marketable and valuable, and that's two different things. Depending on what it depends on what you're using as the currency in the equation.
Right, right.
If you're using actual currency, maybe not. But if you're if you're using things more important than currency, it might be more valuable. Would you gift us with one of your valuable songs on that acoustic guitar over there?
What I consider valuable?
Yeah. Play me the least marketable, most valuable song you got.
Here's an old one, but it's one of my favorite songs I've written, and I think it kind of gets hidden. It's called The Junkman. The junkman down the street, he's looking for some trash. He ain't got no home, but the shit piles up and it's thick with broken glass. It's a menagerie he calls his own. And I'm walking by his grocery cart thinking about my past. I got some garbage all my own, and I'm looking for Jesus in the old man's face, but now the prophet is long gone, and his head is hanging low. He's got no place to go, and all he can do, boys, is eat and sleep and hope tomorrow that he'll know that somebody done told somebody something wrong. 'Cause the church bell is tired and plays the same old songs, and the birds and the dogs got it all figured out. They know when to scream and shout, and Fat Lady Hutchinson yells at the kids, "Get out of my yard and go home. Leave my plum tree alone." The morning has broke like an old window pane. I hear tires rolling down the road, and it's gas and steel that we have to thank to get us to where it is we don't know. And the doctors fix the sick by cutting out the disease, 'cause they ain't really found no cures. And the preacher makes a killing off the congregation who's willing, telling them heaven is for the poor. And our heads are hanging low. We got no place to go, and all we can do, boys, is eat and sleep and hope tomorrow that we'll know, that we'll know.
Oh man, come on! I love it. The dogs and the cats know, like they're getting it right.
Well, that's like the Jane Goodall thing. Like she could say, that just by animal behavior, and can a man be mean and malicious? Yes, he can, and it's actually contagious. If a monkey or a chimp or any animal,
we're kind of herd animals.
Well, we're
so
tribal.
We're gonna do whatever.
Yeah, and if somebody's throwing a commotion, we're probably gonna not pay any heed to facts or fiction. Just follow that dude that's in our tribe,
Mm-hmm. Speaking of being tribal in a community, we're going to go with the all-in portion of the poker hand. Great. So if there was one artist from the Mobile area you would put all your chips behind because you believe believe in them, their craft, their art, their message, or is there someone that comes to mind?
Not because you're here. I think I put a lot behind you because I think you're very open and versatile.
Man, thank you.
And
okay,
very prolific.
Thank you. Excluding present company, then.
Okay.
But thank you.
But I'm being honest about that too. So, and Abe Partridge is creative and doing wonderfully.
Yeah, man, he's one of my favorites.
And Ryan Balthrop, and I guess my favorite around here is my partner in crime, Corky Hughes. But he's not a songwriter.
Well, no, it doesn't matter.
He's like a lyricist.
That was not a prerequisite, just a Mobile musician.
But his ability to bring the most out of a song instead of
magic
ego. I mean, he's like what I think music is all about.
Absolutely,
because
agree with you.
He's one of the most gentle people. Like I said, such a good guitar player. When there's too many guitar players, he knows when not to play guitar. Which is difficult for a lot of people. And a lot of times, I mean, he won't play at all. And then when he does, it's no ego, and I don't think people understand it. There'll be other guitar players will come through and want to have a duel or whatever, some kind of back and forth riff thing, and he'll just not play. I mean, it's because it's not about that, and that's where it gets into music these days. For there to be America's Got Talent, and there's these award shows, and even like a Grammy, like competition in music to me is like the antithesis of one another.
Yeah, exactly.
Music is harmony and not dissonance.
So when you were saying a minute ago, when you were like, you're not sure you're putting out what the world needs, quote unquote, you being authentically you and really saying your truth, that's what we need in the world, and that's what we need, and to be a complete music scene here. And I feel like you're so important to it, and we're very thankful that you were able to come and hang out today.
Thanks. Yeah,
for sure.
And I do feel welcome enough. I mean, people said, why did I move back to Alabama after living in New Orleans 20 years? And I do want to offer hope for people who might need something different, just like J.D. Crowe offers a perspective that is unlike anybody would expect to be coming out of Alabama.
He's brilliant.
I do like being maybe like a bowl of fresh water for some people here and a thorn in the side of other people, So.
Well, there you go. A bowl of fresh water and a thorn in the side. My buddy, Mr. Grayson Capps. Thank you for being here at Dealing the Mobile Sound.
Well, thanks for having me.
And thank you for listening to another episode of Dealing the Mobile Sound. We're proud to have had Grayson on this week. Make sure you tune in to MobileBayRadio.com to hear all of our guests, along with many other amazing artists from right here on the Gulf Coast. Thank you again to Callahan's for letting us have this beautiful spot to record our podcast. And thank you to Will and the Bushmen for providing the intro and outro music.